I'm all right.
I want to call and talk to your wife sometime.
Get her to be a boob, she's nasty.
No, she is not.
She calls somebody head, that's it. No.
I know you're there. There he is, the man.
I'm here. I got a little bit later.
Yeah.
I have a piece of paper that says.
Uh-oh.
I don't do that. I'm not dancing.
Oh.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
That's all that
Hey,
matters.
sir, how are you?
No, I really like this one.
Good job, Lisa.
I prefer the church face, but there's a little cup.
I think she went to bed early, like I think it was 2 sleep patterns. So, you know, there's gonna be new shows. Oh, yeah, you know, they do some good. So it kind of makes you move on cue. Just like both yours and Lindy and the nice people on the ship that y'all was trying to sit.
Yeah.
Well, notorious maybe.
Well, at least we know that it's not in dry dock. It's just awaiting bureaucratic regulations and restrictions.
Don't be pushing that, we're not that old.
You might go up there if you want.
Yeah.
We told our dog, she turned 16. I know that conversation.
Here you go, Tim. I got it all. I had that scrunched up a little bit.
Yeah, as I was looking through it.
No problem.
It's 15 months, it was okay.
It's a long time. Just want to tell people, you have the best you can do. Something that never felt like that.
I would hope not, no one else could put up with you.
You probably won't say she was.
Yeah.
Because you always say, she would be that, she would be this. So how you been, man? It's been a while.
Just busy.
Hey, you know, haven't seen you since the high school.
Oh,
What's so long?
it's just a process.
I don't know how to feel more.
I'm really happy you did.
That's smart. I learned a lesson in my
As smart as you are, I would
It's always
say.
been the last as long.
So, how much not one did you talk to?
Sounds good.
What's the story?
Good morning.
Where you be?
Or isn't, we'll say.
For months.
Mhm.
Hi, Lou. Good morning, time. How are you?
Great.
It's
I
always here.
can't believe they haven't even gotten this going.
Yes. I've already heard it.
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Already great.
Can't see it.
I think it's about.
This
is
and they said, this company made.
It's so ladies kind of in Pakistan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen your wife in a while. Is she doing okay?
They live around.
She will paint these. She like, I think some of the guys have two. And she
So what's
was
the local about?
you can hear her. Yes, it's
All right, welcome to First Universalist of New Madison. On this, it's not fall yet, but it's a nice, refreshing, feels like fall day. Unfortunately, I think it's supposed to get really hot again next week, so we're not getting completely loose. But it's nice to be able to have the windows open and the fans off and the air conditioner off and sleep at night with a blanket on and not be sweltering. So enjoy the weather while you can. Could use some rain. Do we have any announcements?
Just a couple dates. I think you recall that El Dorado is hosting a convocation of UU churches from all around on the topic of reason and reasoning. And anyway, that is starting on Friday. I think it's Friday, and then it's going from Friday, September 21st to, or actually Saturday. Friday, the 20th, also the 21st, I'll get it out, and the 22nd. Well, the 21st, as you recall, we announced previously, this group would like to see another church, so they're coming up just to tour our church, no service. But on the 22nd, Sunday, they have invited us to come and join them with all their convocation guests, as well as the regular folks were invited there on September 22nd. And then in October, there's a former minister, you may remember Donnie Hayden, I believe is the name. Okay, Donnie Hayden has produced a book, and she is coming to El Dorado to talk, give a sermon, obviously also probably be talking about her book, selling her book as well. We've been invited there for October 13th. So we can talk about that date, but we've pretty much committed to September 22nd of being there with the convocation guests. So we probably won't have a service here, but you might want to speak to that a little bit, Tim.
Right.
And then the last announcement that I had, again, we got a missive. She calls them missives from our congregant Dolly, who was in Ireland, but I believe now she's in maybe Amsterdam as we speak. Anyway, she's written a lot here about what they've experienced so far on their rather ill-fated ship, which is above Tim is showing you.
And does anybody
you'll enjoy reading this. So that's my announcements.
And does anybody know how to pronounce the name of that ship? It's Villa V-I-E Odyssey. So is it Villa V Odyssey or Villa Via or Billy? I don't. It's a weird name. I don't know if it's Italian or what.
Sounds French.
Yeah, it sounds French, and I don't have any way to. I don't know how to pronounce it in France either. So.
So on the 22nd, are we for sure not going to be here?
Yes, the 22nd will be in El Dorado, and the 22nd they meet at 10:30.
That's correct. Yes.
Now,
Sorry,
what-
I was stumbling on those dates, but it is Sunday, September 22nd.
At 10:30.
At 10:30
correct.
at El Dorado, and the 21st they are coming here. I think it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Just for a visit, right, to
So-
our church.
The Sunday before or the day before something, we'll kind of vacuum and dust. And if Kenny or anybody who knows any, and Lloyd can, if you're available, because we want to explain to them all the things that have been personally contributed by people. Somebody can explain
Good question, good point.
explain the quilt and the things that have been personally handmade by people. I think that's the whole point of a community church, is people are invested in it. They bring things to it, they make things for it. It's not just like a building you go to. It's a building that's a part of your life and has been for years and years and years and generations.
And if you're not committed afterward, we might just consider staying after next Sunday's service on the 15th and doing our cleaning then.
I think that would be, rather than try and have people come at a separate time, it'll only take us a few minutes. I mean, the place is not,
Some dusting and vacuuming.
yeah, it's not really dirty. It just needs
Yes,
to be
because
dusted
some of our
and maybe
congregants sitting here
vacuumed.
today take extra care.
And we'll kind of sort out, the things in the front here. But it's the way I have my house. If you come to my house, you see the way I live. I don't like fancy everything up for people when they come, which is why my wife won't let anybody come to the house. So, that's part of my plan. I don't want to have company. I'm an introvert, so the house is a mess. We can't have anybody here. All right, any other announcements?
So there's not going to be anybody here on the 21st,
No, the 21st is Saturday.
right?
And anybody can come that wants to greet the people who are visiting. The people from El Dorado, actually the people from the district or the denomination, I think it's the whole denomination, isn't it?
The congregation, they call it.
Is coming to a
It's
convocation.
invited churches to a seminar, a weekend seminar.
So it's people from all over the country are invited. I doubt whether you have people here from California, but I think people are invited to visit El Dorado. And El Dorado said, we want to show you, since there's another church close, we want to show you that church, to show you the difference in the church. They probably just want to lord it over us. We got air conditioning and an elevator, and they don't.
Well, so are you saying that the convocation is going to be here on the 21st?
No,
Just
the
a visit.
convocation is at El Dorado, and it's 3 days. It's Friday and Saturday and Sunday. But on Saturday, those folks are coming here just to tour the church. And then on Sunday, the 22nd, they're having a service, and we're going to be invited and going to their service on September 22nd.
What time is the tour?
The tour is, we think it's on 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It
We'll
was,
get that for you next week.
we'll know next week. They said, I think they originally said it was 3, and then I saw a revision. I think Derek sent an email out and said they moved it up to 2. So it's kind of, I mean, it's not like they're gonna come in a bus and everybody walk out and look around. I think they just, anybody that wants to can come over and go through. So if we're here from like 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock or 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I think that would be sufficient.
Yeah, we should have a time by next week.
Yes.
To provide everyone that wants to come.
And they may even, Friday, they may even have an idea how many people might even come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that the UU Church in Dayton is closing. Do you know about that?
They're moving, aren't they?
They're moving, they haven't closed.
They're moving.
And they sold their relatively new church, and they moved to, are tenants in a downtown, I believe, Church of Christ Church in Dayton.
Okay.
And they're still having services, and they're still an active congregation.
Okay.
But that was
I just heard that today, yes, sir.
kind of questionable because they have a memorial garden or something. They've put a lot of money in that building, and now they've sold the building or somebody else has it. They're not meeting there anymore.
Yeah, there's a Reverend Venus library there or something like that, yeah.
So, yeah, it's, that's happening to everybody is shrinking. I mean, it's not, I mean, and not even major denominations. Even the Baptists are not growing the way even the fundamentalist churches are not growing the way they did. As I mentioned, every time we talk about this, what's the only church that's growing? The Amish, because they have 19 kids to every family. And
That used to be the Catholic Church.
it used to be the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church, if you pay any attention, most Catholics use birth control. Even though the Pope says not to, most of them do. The Amish do not use birth control, but they are not growing by leaps and bounds. If you watch on Facebook, I don't know how I got, Facebook just sends you things, and then if you look at them, they send you more things. There's a couple Amish guys, which we in Indiana call jerked over. They left the Amish church. Actually, there's an Amish girl that left the Amish church, and they make money now by doing things on Facebook, by selling Facebook. Or not, I don't know how Facebook really works, because I don't buy anything when I look at it, but they have ads in there, and I guess they get paid money every time somebody looks at their ad. So there's a couple of these guys that were Amish, and they'll tell you about the history of the Amish church and what their church was like. And there's an Amish girl that tells you, she was explaining, it was really interesting, how does an Amish girl know she's pregnant? They don't do pregnancy tests. If they miss their period and they start to show, then they're pregnant. Do they have an obstetrician? Yes. Or a doula, or a lady that comes and helps them birth their baby. Do they have Social Security cards? No, they don't sign up for Social Security, but they do have birth certificates. So these Amish that leave the church can prove who they are and get an identity card. It's just really, they go to school till the 8th grade, and then they quit. They don't have school after that anymore. Interesting lifestyle, but they are growing, and you can see that around here. If you go down to El Dorado Whitewater Road between 121 and El Dorado, there's not huge, but a growing Amish settlement right there. They'll buy English, is what they call us. They'll buy English houses, strip all the electricity out of them, and it'll become an Amish house. So there's a sawmill down there, there's an Amish school. They started their little community, and they're growing. And when you have 19 kids and you buy each kid a farm, they grow pretty quick. But they're not each. It's interesting because we may even have to do an informational thing on that. Each Amish church or group has their own bishop, and they set their own rules. And you can see and you've seen pictures of the Amish with enclosed buggies with glass doors and windows and flashing lights and everything else. And then you can see Amish with an old-fashioned buggy with no top, no nothing. All they have is a big black umbrella in the wintertime. The bishop is the one that tells them what they can do. Some Amish, there's Amish over by Arcanum that has a metal distribution. He sells metal roofs, and he sells all kinds of building materials. He has a phone. I think I told you this. He has a pay phone because he needs it for his business. But it's not in his business. It's out at the end of his property, standing on a pole with a little shelter there. So he can't just go and talk on the phone. His kids can't go talk on the phone, and he doesn't answer the phone. You just leave a message, and he goes once or twice a day and gets his messages and then calls you back. So in the wintertime or when it's raining or whatever, he's standing there with his umbrella talking on the phone. But he's running $1 million business. I spent huge amounts of money buying roofing, steel roofing there. He got semis making deliveries.
Where's this located?
This is over by Arcanum.
Okay.
It's called Midwest Metal. If you need roofing, he charges $270 a linear foot, and everybody else charges $4. So, and he will deliver if you need it delivered. He's got truckers that he works with. So, we're kind of getting way far afield here.
Any other announcements?
Yeah, any other announcements? That's a community. That's what we're doing. We share. So, all right. Prelude. Holy God, we praise thy name. Our chalice lighting is searching for justice and hope. Verily with hardship comes ease. That's from the Quran 95, 5-6. And the reason we're talking about hope is that is our topic for today. I just kind of stumbled onto that and got intrigued by it, so that's where I ended up. So that's what we're going to talk about today is hope, kind of the definition of it and how it fits into our lives. Lighting this chalice may feel difficult today. The symbol of justice, known to be a light of hope for the marginalized, a message of sanctuary for the oppressed, a flame that feels lost or diminished somehow. How do we rekindle this fire of compassion? How do we rekindle this fire of mercy? The famous verse with the Quran tells us that with hardship comes ease. With hardship comes ease. We welcome the ease, O God of justice. We welcome the ease, O Spirit of love. We welcome the ease and rekindle this flame from our tears, our quiet suffering, from our collective prayers for those who cry for freedom. We welcome the ease and rekindle this flame on behalf of those who feel abandoned and betrayed. We welcome the ease and rekindle this flame for all of the children who ask, why can we not live in peace as other children do? And think of the children of Palestine as you hear this. May lighting this chalice today, no matter how difficult it may feel, help us to rekindle compassion and mercy within the deep crevices of our hearts so that we can once again bring justice and hope to a world struggling to find its humanity, struggling to find its soul. Our opening hymn is 189, Light of Ages and Nations. And elemental blessing. May your kindness abound like hydrogen. Well, before I do that, it is so nice to have music. Last week, we were a cappella, and it went pretty good because Ty was here. We'd have been dead in the water without Ty, but it was still nice to have actual music. May your kindness abound like hydrogen, which fuels every star and is the most plentiful element in the universe. May your generosity refresh like oxygen, which burns in every candle flame, falls in every raindrop, and is exhaled in the great slow sigh of every forest. May your love endure like bismuth, which could radiate energy for 20 billion years and only be half depleted. But those whose iridescent crystals are safe enough to hold. And may your strength persist like carbon, which has enabled all life our solar system knows, has known, or will ever know. From diplodocus to dandelions, from blue-green algae to blue whales, and from the katydids that cling to branches and chirp through the night to the kale that clings to life aboard the International Space Station and hurtles through the silent, endless night of outer space. We're going to skip the children's story because I only have one, and I'm going to do it at the end. It's a combination of children's story and horse story, so we'll do that at the end. Joys and concerns. Yes.
The orange, I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it. The orange crybaby finally admitted that he lost the election.
Which is pretty incredible, isn't
Yeah,
it?
he quit only by a whisker. And my concern is, he's been saying this has been a fraud, he's got evidence. Is it gonna change anybody's mind?
That's the reason we're doing Hope today, is the polls are still even. 40 to 50% of the country still is voting in this direction. And we need to rekindle hope, we need to rekindle intelligence, we need to rekindle humanity in some of these people. I just don't, and I've told you this before, it's the people I work with who don't have 2 nickels to rub together and who can't keep 2 nickels even when you give them 2 nickels. They're just constantly there with their hand out. These are the people that still have a vote, and they should have a vote, but you can't convince them that somebody who is taking the money out of their pocket and putting it in his own pocket is not the person to vote for. So that's the reason that I am looking to rekindle my hope, to reestablish my hope, and hopefully the hope of others.
I think that guy that was running around in the buffalo horns at the riot,
Yes.
he is angry with the orange guy.
Because he
said that he lost.
But what he will say was, and I'm sure that's going to happen, he was misquoted or it's taken out of context and he didn't really say it, because that's the pillar of his whole existence, is the fact that he actually won. He just kind of, and you've heard people say, and it's kind of on the quiet side, that we talk about age and what happens to people as they get older and how their thought patterns kind of get a little messy and don't really make sense. This is basically, they're saying this, and you can see if you watch the late night comics, they have quotes all the time of misspeakings and things that don't make sense, words that don't make sense, which is, I don't have a problem with that. The problem is people still think this is the person who is qualified to lead the country. The person who insults the military, well, we don't need to go into all that, but I mean, you know where we stand, and as I always say, anybody who has an opposing opinion is more than welcome to come up and speak as long as you're polite and respectful. But we are not going to hide our light under a bushel. We are not going to pretend that the things that are important are not important.
What I've been hearing recently is how much costs were less during his administration, prices were down and everything else, but how much did the national debt go up during that administration?
And plus, how many people died because of COVID? When he denied COVID was even a thing. He had COVID and almost died himself and denied it. It's just, that's the insanity of it. That's the thing that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can show this to people over and over again. You can see the video, you can quote the language, and they still don't believe it. That is the definition of what a cult is. When somebody, the leader of a cult, tells you something, you believe it no matter how much sense it makes or whether it's true or not, you believe it. And that's kind of what we're fighting.
I kind of like your sign up there on the screen. You know, the arrows are all pointing up, but then there's an alternative way of looking at it as you're navigating roads. Those are all the path forward.
And we're going to talk about that actually, I think I've got we'll kind of get into I guess I don't have it here. I've got it. A quote I'm going to give you is from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and let me give you that now. We have always held to the hope, the belief, the conviction that there is a better life, a better world beyond the horizon. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The difference, as I see it, between the two parties, one party is looking to the future, saying life can be better if we work at it and make it better. The other party says life was better 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We always want to go back. That party wants to go back to where they enjoyed life, where life was better for them. That is the choice you have to make. Do you want to go back somewhere, or do you want to go forward somewhere? That's the direction we're trying to head. Yes?
I would like to thank you all for prayers for my sister who has died.
And her name?
Carolyn.
Karen. She was the one that had the accident on the cruise.
Yes,
So,
she is.
yes, and then
She fell on her head.
and hit her head and it basically expired because of that injury, which is a real tragedy, not to even be home. Okay. We'll light a candle for Israel, as we talked about every week. Israel, the Israelis and Hamas, the Israeli people, giant demonstrations wanting the captives freed, but the government, the leadership of Israel and the leadership of Hamas both have decided that to prolong the war is in their personal best interest. They have no consideration for the people who are dying, the innocent people who are dying. And that is the definition of war from every war. The leader who sends the nation to war is not concerned about the people who are dying in the war. They're concerned about their own personal aggrandizement, their own personal gains that they can make out of it. The other is Ukraine. We still have our sunflowers. The situation remains the same there. The Ukrainians have some territory in Russia, and the Russians are advancing into other parts of Ukraine. Russia is mad because Ukrainians have invaded Russia, so now they are sending more and more missiles and drones, killing more and more innocent people. More and more apartment towers are being blown up. More and more utilities are being damaged. It's a war of attrition. It's been going on for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And nothing has made any difference. The Ukrainians want to strike farther into Russia to bring them to the table, but their allies, the United States and Europe, are afraid of what Russia will do if they do that. So they're not permitting them to use our weapons farther into Russia. But if you've noticed, the Ukrainians are using their own homemade drones and are setting oil fields on fire and attacking electricity communication stations, actually almost to Moscow. So they are making the Russians aware of what's going on. But a sad situation. Another situation is...
I'll just share a joy, and it's kind of a random thought, but a joy because we all celebrate and honor diversity. You may have seen in the news, but last weekend, Labor Day weekend, Princess Martha Louise of Norway was married, and I'm sure all of you caught that in the news, that she has been living in California with a shaman who is African American for a number of years. And her first marriage, she had 3 girls, and unfortunately that was divorced and her husband passed away. But the celebration was truly representative of worldwide diversity. If you caught any of it on Facebook or the news or whatever, Princess Martha Louise. Her father was there, King Harold, and Queen Sonia were there at the wedding. Her brother and the Crown Prince and Princess of Norway were there. The Crown Prince and Princess of Sweden were there, and as well as Denmark. They're all an interrelated family, and there were no other royals there. The wedding took place in a touristy area, and it was quite a celebration. And talk about diversity. If you check, at least look at the pictures, and if you think of the history behind it and how that all blends together in today's world of royalty. Most interesting. So light a candle for Princess Martha Louise and her husband.
Yes, I was not aware of that. But isn't it interesting that as many trials and tribulations are going on in the world, there are still advances being made. There still is love and togetherness and acceptance and sharing that is still happening, which is the reason we cling to hope, the reason we try to spread hope, the reason we try to encourage other people to have hope. And the important thing is to bring these things to our attention, because when you watch the news, although Friday, I always make a point to watch the news on Friday because almost every station has some kind of little good news thing. CBS especially, I can't remember the guy's name, but he always has a little happy note of something that is positive, that is being shared, it is good news, and that is good news to see on the news. So.
Light one more candle for the lives lost in the most recent school shooting in Georgia.
Oh, geez.
Yes.
Again.
And his father, they were interviewed by the FBI because he put stuff on one of these websites that's known for hatred and violence, and they tracked it back to him, and of course he denied it, his father denied it, said we have guns for hunting, but he has no access to them. That was last year. This last Christmas, he bought him an AR-15 and then took that AR-15 to school and killed 2 teachers and 2 other students. And what is the response of the party that wants to go backwards? We need more protection in the schools. They are more than willing to ban books, but they will not ban AR-15. What kind of sense does that make? You're banning books? You think a book about 2 male penguins getting together is going to turn someone gay? But an AR-15 in the hands of a 14-year-old is safe? I mean, it's ludicrous. It is ludicrous. So.
I saw yesterday or the day before that the father got 4 counts of manslaughter and 2 counts of murder because.
Yeah.
He's been arrested. And if you remember the couple in Michigan that provided their son a handgun who went to the Michigan school and shot his teacher. But once again, the conservative approach is punish, punish, punish. If you can't punish the 14-year-old, then punish the next closest person, the parent. Does anybody think that because they punish this parent, the other crazy parents that are giving their kids guns or letting their guns be unlocked, do you think that's going to stop them? Has the death penalty stopped anybody from killing anybody? That is the whole problem with the whole belief system of punishment. Punishing people does not stop people from doing things. If it did, murder would have been eliminated years and years ago because people are killed. They are executed for murdering people, and yet people continue to murder people. And we've talked about this. The same situation is when you try to educate and teach your kids. If you're spanking your kids and whipping your kids with a switch or a belt or whatever, and you hear people say all the time, my parents switched me or hit me with a belt or whatever, and it didn't hurt me. But it also teaches you that might makes right. If you beat your kids into submission, that means if you have an argument with somebody and you beat them into submission, then you are in the right hand. You're going to do the right thing, and you're going to gain the upper hand. Violence, we need to be taught that violence is not the answer. Violence does not work in the long run. It may work in the short run. If you watch people training horses, the Old West, they used to just ride them. They take the young Mustangs and just ride them and buck them until they wore out and finally broke their will. But if you watch the things on YouTube, there's all kinds of horse trainers out there who do not use those methods. They understand, they learn the horse, they understand the horse, they teach the horse, and they let the horse learn by small lessons what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And they watch the cues, they watch what the horse does and how the horse responds, and they tailor their teaching to that particular horse. That's what we need to learn to do with people. If only we could figure out some way to keep people from being idiots, which we still haven't figured out yet. So. Any others? All right, we'll light one candle, if I can keep it lit. For those hopes and dreams that aren't expressed, those fears and trepidations that aren't expressed, anybody who needs help, please contact us. We will help if we can. But I can assure you we do not give out money, but we give out advice, and we will send you in the right direction. So don't call us for money. All right. Hope. Let's go to Hope has 2 beautiful daughters. I got a lot of quotes here because Hope is all over the place as you're looking for quotes. 2 beautiful daughters. Their names are Anger and Courage. Anger at the way things are, and courage to see that they do not remain as they are. St. Augustine, a Christian scholar and prophet and martyr from long ago, but hope was important even in those days when the Christianity was still in its formative state. Kind of where we're starting here is, the reason we're talking about hope is fear is a hallmark of these times, but it's intentionally. One of our leaders has gone to the fear idea, that fear inspires people to vote for what is most important, the values thing. If you scare people, they will give up lots of freedoms to make sure they stay safe. And that is the whole plan. The fear of the virus, the fear of gunshots, the fear of foreigners, the fear of others are destroying our country. The mantra is repeated over and over again. If you watch the commercials on TV, the political commercials are getting really down in the dirt now, and they're going to get worse before we get to the end. But a constant refrain is they will build the border, they will protect us, and we all know the facts. The border has been there for years. The fence that was built was like 220 miles, and there's like 1,600 miles of border. There's no way you can build a fence, a 20-foot fence on 1,600 miles. You just can't do it. And there's bunches of other reasons for that too. But the problem is, if you build a 20-foot fence, all you have to do is have a 22-foot ladder, and a 20-foot fence means nothing. The charge that all the drugs are coming over in backpacks with people swimming across the river, the drugs are coming in semi-trucks and containers, and they're coming in giant amounts.
Yeah.
The people that I'm working with, and I must have a big sign on my truck that says, this guy hires felons or hires drug addicts, because I just found 2 more people that have been referred to me. They all say they're clean, they all say they don't do drugs, and then they all end up still appearing in court for the drug felonies they've been arrested before. And then they find out that, and these are the mentality is, we're kind of getting off topic here again, but the mentality is, the rules don't apply to me. That seems to be the one common thread that goes along. This last guy who came to me went up to Lorain, Ohio, because he had a hearing, because he had been in prison there and he'd been released, and he had to appear at the court. But when he appeared at the court for his basically just a refresher to make sure that he was going to appear and do what he was supposed to do, he was rearrested because he brought tobacco illegally into the jail. And that's called contraband. And they don't distinguish between drugs contraband or tobacco contraband. So this guy snuck tobacco into the jail, was caught, and now he has another bond that he has to post. And the sad thing is, he wanted me to post $5,000 bond for a guy I've known for 2 days. I said, and his father and his stepmother live right next door to my cottage up there. I said, I don't really feel comfortable doing that, because if you jump bail, I'm the one who loses the $5,000. But if your parents want to sign for the bail, they don't have $5,000. But if he jumps bail, I will loan them the $5,000, and they can pay me back the $5,000. His parents refused to post his bail.
Ouch.
If your parents refuse to post your bail, why would I post your bail?
Yeah.
Kidding. It's not ouch, it's weird.
But this goes on and on and on, and I can't. Where is the end to this? And I've told you the stories of the 2 girls I tried to help who are both dead now. These stories go on, and these people, they are decent people when you talk to them. They sound like decent people, and they can work like decent people. I don't know whether is it a character flaw? Is it something in their genes? Is it something they learned growing up? I mean, they grew up in the same country as the rest of us. They grew up with the same, basically, church background and culture. They may not have gone to church. Well, actually, most of them actually have gone to church. Interestingly enough, almost every one of them has gone to a fundamentalist church, where punishment is if you don't believe in God. I told you about the funeral where the pastor used the dead girl as an example of what happens if you don't live a good life, and had an altar call at the funeral. He said, raise your hand if you're saved. If you're not saved, come forward and profess your love of Christ, and you will be saved. This is at the funeral of a girl who died of a drug overdose. I mean, it's incomprehensible. There is such a split between different values and different people in the country. Everybody has a right to their own opinions, and I respect that. I just don't understand it. So anyway, we're really going off the shot here. So anyway, Hope has the 2 beautiful daughters. Let me give you another couple, because these are important. This is Emily Dickinson, who I love, who half the time doesn't make any sense, but really touches you even though it doesn't make sense. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tunes without the words and never stops at all. Hope is the thing that with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all, telling us that hope lives eternal. Hope is something, and there's a difference between hope and optimism. Think about the difference between hope and optimism. We tend to use the words almost interchangeably, but they're really quite different. Hope is a sense that things can be made better through action, while optimism is a belief that things are already going to happen well. The way I look at it is it's kind of like sports. When the Reds are at the top of their game and the top leading the league, that you're optimistic that they are going to win the pennant. When the Reds are at the bottom and have lost for 7 straight games and are way at the bottom of the standings, that's when you're hopeful that things might change. You're not optimistic, but you always have hope that things will change, and sometimes things do. That's what you have to be aware of, is sometimes things do change and things do improve. All right, there's another one. Hope. This is Nietzsche, is an interesting person, and the reason I put this in is between hope and optimism, but you have to look at what reality is. What is a false hope? What encourages you to keep hope alive when it's a futile hope? And this is Nietzsche's statement. Hope in reality is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man. Hope is the worst of all evils. Why? Because when you have hope, you keep thinking things are going to get better, and sometimes things are never going to get better. If you buy lottery tickets and you're hoping you're going to win the lottery, that is an evil thing. Sure, one person in 50 million wins the lottery. Your odds of winning the lottery are astronomically against you. And yet you're not optimistic you're going to win the lottery. You hope you're going to win the lottery. And you keep giving money to the lottery. And I have no complaint because most of the lottery money, or a lot of the lottery money, goes for good causes. But it also encourages people to gamble. And gambling is hoping. Now, if you're a good gambler, if you know your horses and watch the races, you can actually do pretty good as a gambler. But most people who are horse racing gamblers are not studying the program. They're just kind of going on hope that their horse is going to win. That's kind of the way I do it, and I'm still losing money, so. But I still enjoy it, the $2 bet. So, false hope is how to judge. I mean, what we need to do is learn how to judge what's a false hope and what's a real hope. Let your hopes, not your hurts, shape your future. Robert Schuller. Not too many things I admire about Robert Schuller, but I think that is a very good thought. Let your hopes, not your hurts, shape your future. These people that I'm dealing with, every one of them, every single one of them has a story that would curl your hair if you had hair, about how terrible their life was, about the things that were done to them, physically beaten, sexually abused, abandoned, left alone to raise their siblings. And then after they're freed from their families, they get into drugs. Every one of them says, these are my friends. Their friends steal from them. Their friends take things, blame them for things, turn them in for things. They're not friends. They're just people that you know, and they stay with these friends when one of them has a house, and then they get their stuff stolen from them, and then they go back to them again because they have no place else to go. It is a sad, sad existence. But you have to and you try to give these people hope and say, if you do this, your life will be better. If you get your driver's license and you get a job, which even with a criminal record, you can still get a job. Fram's hiring people, and they don't care what your record is. They're desperate for people to work. So there's businesses all over that are desperate for people to work, but the people who really need the jobs are more concerned about stealing money or stealing drugs from their friends than they are about getting the jobs. And I offer them jobs, and they'll work 1 or 2 days, get paid, disappear for 2 days, and then come back and want to work again. It's a question I don't have the answer to yet. Okay, when you do nothing, you feel overwhelmed and powerless, but when you get involved, you feel the sense of hope and accomplishment that comes from knowing you are working to make things better. Maya Angelou. Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning. I think he was a Universalist Unitarian. Albert Einstein. He probably wasn't, but when he says never stop questioning, that is the mantra we go by. We have always held to hope, the belief, the conviction that there is a better life, a better world beyond the horizon. Franklin D. Roosevelt, we talked about that before. And that is, as I talked about before, the differences between outlooks, between viewpoints. Some people look to the future and want to see a better future. Other people look to the past and say the past was better, we want to go back to the past. Look at the past, and we will do numbers, everything listed you want. Things were never better in the past. Some individual things may have been better, but in general, as far as sickness, as far as material gain, as material wealth, as far as happiness, they weren't better in the past. Hope is like, and that's what I'll leave you with, hope is like a road in the country. There never was a road, but when many people walk on it, the road comes into existence. Lu Xun, that's a Chinese Confucian philosopher. Hope is like a road in the country that never was a road, but when people walk on it, the road comes into existence. Hope doesn't exist by itself. It only exists when we are hopeful, when we exhibit and when we practice our hope, when we do something about our hope. Okay, questions, comments?
What fuels hope and what inhibits hope?
What is it that tells you that hope is futile? I don't know, and I don't know, there's something genetic in me. I mean, why do I keep doing with these people? I've not had I've had 2 girls die, a bunch of other people who borrow money. I just had that guy that kited all the checks. I just cashed a check for him for $600 from Family Health Services. Sent it to my bank because he signed the back of it and gave it to me, and I sent it to my bank. It bounced. He changed the check. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, he's living in my house, and his only job is to work for me. Why would you do that? Why would you bounce another check? Because I'll get the money back from him eventually. I don't understand. I really do not understand it. So I don't understand why he does it, what forces him to do it, and I don't understand why I keep doing it. My wife doesn't understand why.
enabling.
So what is this?
Nobody understands why I keep doing
I
it.
wouldn't do it, I'll tell you.
Yes, I must be some kind of a martyr. I probably should be a Catholic or something like that. I don't know.
Many of those individuals, they don't have the ability to anticipate consequences. They don't, see, we can anticipate consequences. If I do that, something's going to happen. For some reason, they're unable to process that if I do that, yeah, but I need this right now if somebody's breathing down my neck for money, so therefore I'm going to do it anyway. But they can't anticipate the consequences. They're like, well, it may happen, well, I'll just have to deal with it when it happens. But they're not able to anticipate consequences, nor are they normally able to anticipate or take responsibility for that inability to anticipate.
You've hit the nail on the head. That is exactly, because these people, if you notice, the only common denominator they all have is they think they don't even think day by day, they think hour by hour. If I need something and I can get it, and that's where these friends steal from each other. I'm a good friend, I have your back. Oh, wait a minute, you have a pack of cigarettes, I want cigarettes. I don't ask you for a cigarette, I just take your cigarettes. You have clothes that I'd like to wear. I don't ask you if I can wear them and give them back. I just take them. Everything is day by day. You say, and they can't think of the future. Remember the study when they had those kids where they put a donut on the table and said, if you let that donut stay there for 10 minutes while I'm out of the room, I'll give you 2 donuts when I get back. Some kids would grab that donut and stuff it in their mouth right away. Other kids would wait for that second donut and they would have 2 donuts. When they followed those kids 30 years and into the future, guess which kids got a college education, had a good job, had good retirement, and had a decent life, and guess which kids were living hand to mouth and still had nothing?
One donut.
The 1 donut kids. Delayed gratification is what it's called. These people are not able to delay, and they, you know, it's like when I tell them, if you work with me, I'll get you a car, I'll get you an apartment, I'll get you a job, you'll have a decent life, you'll have a decent place to live. The first chance they get, they're gone. I mean, they can't, they just, and yet that's the hope that I have, that these people can do that. People can change. I mean, I see there's most of these people, well, every one of them, I wouldn't do it if they were evil people that were just, you know, killing cats and kicking kids and stuff like that. When you talk to them, they have kids that they love, they have family they love, the people that they care about they love. They still steal from them, which is pretty bizarre. I mean, that's why their parents won't do anything for them, because every time their parents try to help them, they stole from their parents. But I don't, that's the complication part of it, but hope lives eternal. So, okay, we're really running late here, so. Any other comments? Anybody has a suggestion on how to bring hope alive, keep hope alive, let us know, and we will progress with that. Okay, let's see. Offering. If you have something to share, please do. If you need something, please contact us. We are a fountain of information, helpful information on food pantries, CAC, all those things. And we're going to hear, Where Have All the Flowers Gone?
We'll talk about this later after people show.
Closing hymn is 135. How happy are they?
What,
135.
135.
Thank
Wotton, 1568 to 1639. How happy are they, born or taught, who do not serve another's will, whose armor is their honest thought, and simple truth their highest skill, whose passions not their rulers are, whose souls are still and free from fear, not tied unto the world with care of public fame or private ear, who have their lives from rumors freed, whose conscience is their strong retreat, whose state no flattery can feed, nor rule in make oppressors great. All such are freed from servile hands of hope, to rise or fear to fall. They rule themselves, but rule not lands, and having nothing, yet have all. We need to probably repeat that again. All right. Extinguishing the chalice, hope continues. When the candle dims, the wax almost spent, the light turns amber like a sunset. Still it provides light. Still it provides heat. Still it can kindle a new flame and pass its glow on and contribute to new illumination when sunsets turn to new days, when seasons transform all. When the candle dims, all is not lost. Hope continues, uncertain and true, like candlelight, ready to spark again. All is not lost. All right. If this plays, we'll see. How many of you have seen the documentary Unbranded? Anybody know what it is? These 4 kids graduated from Texas A&M. They rounded up, or they went to the Bureau of Land Management and bought like 17 or 18 Mustangs that had been trapped out in the wild. And as you know, the Bureau of Land Management's kind of in a situation with the farmers or the ranchers. They don't want wild Mustangs eating the grass that their cattle can eat. So they have the Bureau of Land Management trap and round up these burros and Mustangs, and they sell them for like $50 to anybody that'll take one or adopt one. And nobody really knows for sure what happens to the others. The suspicion is they're shipped to Mexico or Canada for horse slaughter. But these guys were trying to raise, there's 50,000 at this time, this was like 10 or 15 years ago, 50,000 wild horses, Mustangs, that were in corrals that the Bureau of Wild Management was taking care of. So they bought 17 or 18 of them. And they traveled, they broke them, and they broke them in the old-fashioned way. But they went from Arizona, or actually from Mexico border to Canada, from Arizona to the Glacier National Park. This documentary is a story of how they did that. It's pretty incredible all the way along. The first day in Arizona, one of the Mustangs started bucking and ran off, ran into a cactus, and they spent the next 2 hours pulling cactus needles out of this horse's face and his neck and his legs. What a beginning for a show. So we'll see if this will give you kind of an overview of what it's like.
Who does Joe Biden have to thank for backing his extreme liberal agenda?
I want to thank my buddy Sherrod Brown.
Brown backed Biden, voting to let transgender biological men participate in women's sports, and supported allowing puberty blockers and sex change surgeries for minor children. And Brown backed Bidenomics, reckless spending and inflation, causing prices to soar.
My buddy Sherrod Brown.
Too liberal for Ohio. Senate Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
And I can't do these without the ads anymore. I used to be able to cut the ads out, and I can't. But I like to show you these ads. I don't have a problem with it, because sex change for minors against their will, that's a complete and total lie. These parents, these kids have said who they are, what gender they, not only their physical body is, but what gender their mind and their heart is. And these are surgeries that these parents and these kids want. It's not being forced on them. Everything in this ad is a complete lie, and the only thing that's not a lie is Sherrod Brown and the president are on the same team and trying to do the right things. And if you look at the difference in ads, pay attention to what they say, and pay attention to the disingenuous, absolute lies that are going on in there. But it is not a surprise, because what is this appealing to? You can tell by the tone of her voice. She wants to scare people. She wants people to be afraid and vote for the party of fear, the party that says you have to be afraid and we will take care of you. The same thing that's been done by dictators for generations.
I'm not ready to buy a house and get married and have kids yet. I want to have fun and do some crazy adventure like this while I can. Trip of self-discovery.
We recently adopted less than 3,000. What do we do with the excess wild horses that we have to remove?
Do these horses have a right to be here? Yeah, absolutely they do.
To prove the worth of these Mustangs, we're going to adopt, train, and ride them 3,000 miles from Mexico to Canada, through the wildest terrain in the American West.
Excellent documentary. I encourage you to watch it if you get a chance. It's not only a story of the horses, the training and the trouble they went through, but also the interaction between the four guys. Some of them were friends earlier, and some of them they just met in college. When you spend like 6 months or 3 months, I think it was, like every day together, 24 hours a day, there's some interesting frictions that arise. And at the end, one or two of them just kind of left before they had totally completed the journey. So a really interesting documentary. If you like horses and you like the West, you get a good feel for both on that. So, all right, our postlude is September Song. September Song, how appropriate. We leave one candle lit for Roberta and her family for the loss they've suffered, and positive hope for Dolly that she manages to at least sail somewhere before she has to come back. So hopefully we'll hear more from her about what's going on. There are donuts back there, and there is coffee back there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, they retrofitted that ship with one of those sails that rotate.
What's that?
they retrofitting that ship with one of those sails that were tape?
No. This is some private tour group in Britain had it. They told me the name in the article. And then it sat empty. They didn't use it for the whole year. The virus, that tour company went out of business because when the virus thing, nobody could do anything. And that was what happened. The thing sat for like 3 or 4 years, and all of their licenses expired. So when this people bought this ship probably for next to nothing, and then refitted it, put all new staterooms and kitchens and everything in it, they had to go back and recertify the entire ship, everything, all the electrical, all the plumbing, all the drive things. And that's what they're running into trouble with. Every time they get ready to sail, some other contractor comes up or some other government comes up and says, that's not been passed yet.
If you look at this, the two mounts there.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the new technology, this looks very similar. They're putting these on cargo ships.
Well, this is in dry dock in Belfast. I have a feeling these cranes are on the dock.
I'm not talking about the cranes. Yes.
I don't know what that is.
They have come up with tech. When you spin a cylinder,
yes,
it provides lift. And there's enough lift on it to move the ship.
Instead of having a sail that goes out. And actually they're coming up with that for the turbine, for
Right.
generation.
Right.
And I don't think these people are adventurous enough. Do you know what I mean? When you've got thousands or whatever paying passengers. But I do know that they are doing that with cargo ships.
Right.
There's 1 or 2 that are already in existence now with the sails on them. It's supposed to be saving them money because, you know, when the sail's there, it also picks up wind from whatever direction the wind is blowing. You don't have to like be going downwind.
Right.
So
I've got a generator I bought for a 350 watt generator. You know, basically it's a 3-phase AC motor. Well, a 3-phase DC motor. It generates 3-phase AC, but it's a 3-phase. But anyway, and I've tinkered with different things, and it's like, what's going to give me the best?
Well, the newest thing is the car that China has come out with. It's called extended range or something, electric. It has a gas motor, but it has no mechanical drive. Like the fully electric cars that have a motor for each wheel, that's what this car has, but the gas motor is only there to charge the batteries. So instead of having the entire car being made up of batteries that can go 300 miles, this car has half the number of batteries, and this very small gas engine just runs as a generator.
Gee, sounds like a diesel electric train engine.
Yeah, and it has a 600-mile range, and it weighs less because half the weight of the batteries. And it still gets, you know, tremendous mileage because the gas engine is not a big, powerful V8. I don't know, it's like a little 4-cylinder or 2-cylinder or whatever. It's just there to run the generator to keep and it doesn't charge them completely. I mean, you can't just drive forever.
Right.
But it charges them enough that you can get a 600-mile range out of it, which is what most people's complaint is about electric cars is, you know, their range limited.
You go so far, then you have to stop and wait.
Yes. And they wouldn't mind if you could recharge it in 10 minutes or 20 minutes, but you know, it takes a couple hours to recharge them.
Yeah. We have a little copy. And